Well, good afternoon. Let me first start out by congratulating the new Chief of Department, Evelyn Mirabel. Congratulations. I said to her the same thing that I say to everyone when they get a new job: don't screw it up. She assured me that she will not. You can take that down and take it to the bank. You come highly recommended, and congratulations on the promotion. Do a good job. You really have in your hands the future of an awful lot of people, and not everybody has the opportunity or the problems of coming through Rikers, but when somebody is here, we've got an obligation to take care of them, and you'll, I'm sure, do a good thing. Good afternoon to everyone. In 2002, I think it's fair to say no one thought we could drive crime down any further, certainly not while locking up fewer people. But we have reduced crime since '02 by 37%, making this the safest big city in the nation. And at the same time, we've cut our incarceration rate by 32%, even as the nation's incarceration rate has increased by 5%. So people that think that locking offenders up and throwing away the key is the only solution, I think we're showing them that that is not right. By our policies of reducing the incarceration rate, it means that tens of thousands of people who might have been killed or victims of violent crimes have been spared, and tens of thousands of people we do that by reducing the crime rate, and tens of thousands of people who might have committed those crimes did not, and many of them stayed out of jail and became productive members of their communities. In short, I think it's fair to say we've showed that a combination of tough enforcement and effective rehabilitation makes for a safer city. And that's important because there's increasing evidence that repeated prison or jail sentences leave former inmates trapped in poverty and in cycles of crime. And such recidivism is not good for them or for the rest of us either. And that's why today we're unveiling a trailblazing new initiative, one that we previewed in last week's State of the City address. It's called ICAN, I''CAN, which stands for Individualized Correction Achievement Network. The ICAN initiative will work with mainly pretrial detainees that corrections officials identify as facing the greatest problems with reentry to society, problems that put them at the highest risk of committing the kind of new offenses after release that will bring them back to Rikers Island. And as Correction Commissioner Dora Schreiro will describe in a few minutes, this program will focus on those who will be held long enough for at least 20 days to benefit from the new services the ICAN initiative will offer. These high-risk inmates currently have a rate of recidivism or reincarceration of something like 70%, and we expect that ICAN will reduce that recidivism rate by 10% among the nearly 2,300 city jail inmates who will participate in the initial part of this program. To implement ICAN, the Department of Corrections has contracted with two highly respected organizations with long histories of working effectively with prisoners in the system, the Fortune Society and the Osborne Association. The Corrections Department will ask these two groups to help inmates reach a specific set of goals, starting while they're incarcerated and extending to within 6 months of their release. These milestones, for example, will include getting a valid state identification card, completing a general equivalency or GED degree, and abstaining from substance abuse. We've got to do something to make people that we've incarcerated able to survive outside of incarceration without going back into a life of crime. If they go back into a life of crime, nobody's served. They are not, and society is certainly not. ICAN, we think, will be innovative in two major respects. First, we're going to pay for performance. We will pay for outcomes achieved, not actions taken. In many cases, we've not done that before, and most cities do not. But we think that such pay-for-performance contracts will help us reduce our welfare rolls and we believe that they can help us reduce recidivism too. We've budgeted $3.6 million for ICANN in the current fiscal year. Our contracts with the Fortune Society and the Osborne Association, however, stipulate that the payments they'll receive will be tied directly to their success in helping inmates meet the kind of goals I just described. And that's going to give them a financial incentive to achieve the outcomes that we all want to see. Our two providers know the importance of getting to these outcomes. They're willing to put their reputations and money on the line in order to achieve real success, and we like that. And second, we are, as I mentioned earlier, focusing primarily on prisoners who are awaiting trial, not those who've already been convicted and sentenced. We have other programs for those. This kind of reentry services that ICANN will provide at Rikers has been proved successful with inmates sentenced to various state prison systems in the nation, but New York is the first city correction system to try this approach with pretrial detainees. We've long been, as you know, a national leader in correction reform, and ICANN will continue that proud tradition. It will also complement the work of our Young Men's Initiative in removing barriers to success and improving outcomes for young Black and Latino males in our city, and I want to once again thank George Soros for his generous support of our Young Men's Initiative. If ICANN is as successful as we think that it will be, it could prove a model for other cities across the country. Rikers Island, as you know, has 10 separate jail facilities for male and female prisoners. We launched ICANN here at the Otis Bantam Correction Center and at 3 other facilities now, and together they account for about 50% of the inmates on Rikers Island. Our goal is to expand ICANN to the entire city jail system by the end of this year. So on that note, let me turn things over to our Deputy Mayor for Human Services, Linda Gibbs. Linda?
Thank you. It's great to be here with the folks from the Department of Corrections. This is really a proud moment. This is a great new program. I think we're going to quickly show how successful it can be and hold it up for the rest of not only the city jail system, but for jail systems across the country as we search for new ways to have success with folks who have gotten on the wrong side of the law and who are working hard to get themselves back on the right side of the law. One of the most important reasons that we're able to do things like this is not only having, of course, the brilliant staff who can conceive of these ideas, but having the strength of the data systems that allow us to understand what the history is of behaviors of different folks once they leave jail and prison, and be smart about what are those conditions that put people at the highest risk of reoffending. The mayor has always been really clear with us as we do this work. He doesn't want to see any compromising of public safety in the city. And in fact, this work has the potential of doing exactly the opposite, which is not only can we produce better outcomes for these individuals in their own personal lives, but we can improve public safety. And we know that by looking at the data. And just think about it. 70% of our high-risk inmates who are released will reoffend within a year of their release. And this program goes right after that critical public safety challenge and that critical personal tragedy for those individuals that just cycle back into jail. And so this program is geared toward giving them the resources, the skills, the knowledge that they need to have better success when they are released, working with fabulous partners who know Rikers well and who are familiar with the dynamics of the challenges that individuals face when they return to their homes and to their communities, and connecting them to resources that are going to help them to get on a better path. And so we will be closely evaluating this. The providers will be paid on the success of their clients in connecting to those supports that are going to keep them on the right path. And we're going to be constantly monitoring the data to make sure that it's working, tinkering with it, making sure that we don't that it is producing as good a result as we expect it to, and quite frankly, I hope it'll be better than the 10% goal that the program has set for itself. So thank you.
Linda, thank you. And I'd also like to ask City Corrections Commissioner Dora Shiro to say a little bit more about the ICANN initiative. Dora?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. There you go. I'm really delighted to welcome you to Rikers Island, as some have called New York City's 6th borough. Running a system as big as ours doesn't happen on its own, and I'm really proud to acknowledge all of my colleagues who are here today and give a special shout out to the correction officers, our line staff, the backbone of our agency. Deputy Mayor has spoken eloquently about the urgent need to focus on discharge planning and preparation, not just for sentenced individuals in a state correctional system, but also pretrial prisoners, because the vast majority of our population go right back to the street. Relatively few get sentenced to the state, just 17%. And that means everybody else is coming home. And those are those many thousand opportunities every single year to turn them around and keep things better and safer for all of the rest of us. This program, ICANN, is really quite remarkable. We identify inmates who are adults that are at high risk of return and are expected to stay in the agency for 20 days. That's not a lot of time, but we can do a lot when we're focused and pressed in those 20 days or more that we have them. To that end, we developed, with the assistance of others, 2 instruments to identify who is at high risk, as well as to forecast their length of stay. We adopted a nationally recognized and validated assessment tool to further refine the very specific skill sets they need to acquire so as to reduce their risk of returning to our system. And we've developed automated systems so as to convert all that information into individualized correction plans, which are then the template by which our providers operate and address each of the individual needs of the individuals who are in the program. Now, in order to prepare them for release, it's clear that we don't have a moment to lose. And so we start day 1 of incarceration, and we focus and press throughout their time in our custody, acquiring the skills that they need so as to be ready for release to the community. There are actually 3 areas where we focus: acquiring necessary credentials, acquiring skills, as I said, employability, sobriety, literacy skills, working on mental health, stability, and referrals to the community, and then in the community to continue to be concerned about community stabilization, because those first 6 months after release from jail are the time where they're at greatest risk of reoffending. And so this program starts in jail, and as often as necessary will continue to the street. And that's really important. As you know, ICANN started a couple weeks ago. We've already identified 142 individuals who are high risk and are going to be with us 20 days or more. And they have been referred to our providers, to our partners, to start to get them on board and get them ready to go home, ready better than they were before. For myself, I'm proud about this initiative for 5 reasons. It's innovative. Discharge planning and preparation, as the mayor said, is fundamental in prison systems. It's often unheard of in city systems or local jail systems, and we're out there and we're doing it first, and we're going to do it best. ICANN is evidence-based. Our only proven practices that have been shown to achieve real results have been incorporated into our initiative. ICANN is focused. We focus on high-risk individuals, and we use every minute of the day to get them ready for their release, and then we continue to keep up with them for those number of months after they're out. ICANN promotes transparency. The target group is clearly identified, and our intended outcomes are stated from the very beginning through those individualized plans. And ICANN ensures accountability. Everybody has a job to do, starting with the inmate who is responsible for getting themselves ready to go back to the street by completing their plan. Our obligations for ourselves are clear, as well as for our partners, Osborne and Fortune. And as the mayor pointed out, only measurable results are reimbursed. We're very excited about the launch of ICANN, and we're really tickled that you're all here today to learn more about it. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Deputy Mayor, for all of your support and your faith in us.
Dora, thank you. And now we're going to hear from those working with the Corrections Department on this initiative, starting with Elizabeth Gaines, the Executive Director of the Osborne Association. Liz?
The Osborne Association is thrilled to be part of this large and innovative effort with our partners at the Department of Correction and the Fortune Society. The population-wide risk and needs assessment is new, and it leads to an individually tailored menu of services so that people will not come back here, except perhaps as staff or volunteers for the Osborne Association. Our role will be to serve people from the Bronx and Brooklyn. Osborne has actually been operating the longest continuously running program at Rikers, the Fresh Start program, founded by Barbara Margolis almost 25 years ago. And what we've learned from that, it's a program that has culinary arts training and a journalism program. We published the Rikers Review. And parenting programs, is that the people in that program have had a much lower recidivism rate than the people in our regular discharge planning program, which led us to believe, and we are thrilled that our partners at DOC believe, that doing work while people are here produces a different result than merely discharge planning. You might have heard them say discharge planning and preparation. That's kind of a big deal, adding the preparation piece, because we've been out here for over a decade doing discharge planning alone without the opportunity to do the work with so many people on island. And people do not come back to jail because they don't have a plan. They have a plan. It's not a very good plan sometimes, but it is a plan, but they don't have the support or the services or the confidence to put it out. This is different, and this is going to make a difference, I think. Look, the reason we're willing to take this gamble that we don't get paid unless we succeed is obviously Osborne's been around for 80 years. We've put all of our money and beliefs in the belief that people can change. We've seen it. We know we're going to see it. We can't do it without the Department of Corrections support. This is new that we're doing this with detainees as well as people who are convicted. We're just incredibly excited about not losing this opportunity. This country sends people to jail for days, months, years as warehousing. This is a difference that is going to make a huge difference. So we have a plan. It's called I Can, We Can, We Will, and I think it's going to meet the needs of our participants and the Department of Correction and the taxpayers because of, you notice how often they repeated we only get paid if we succeed? But I sleep at night because we're going to. Thanks.
And also joining us is the President and CEO of the Fortune Society, Joanne Page. Joanne?
So I agree with everything that got said before. Fortune's been around for 46 years. What we know is that if you engage with people while they're locked up, you can build the bonds and start the work that lets you hold them solid when they get out and increases their odds. So Rikers Island, the New York City Department of Corrections, have about 12,000 people locked up at any time and 88,000 releases a year. That's 88,000 opportunities to make individuals' lives better, communities better, families better. This is a chance to really dig in and work with a handful of people compared to the whole, but a very significant group of people, in terms of making communities better. Nobody comes home from jail or prison a zero. People come back and they build the world they return to, or they tear it down. And our job is to increase the odds that people come back as people who build their communities. So what does that mean? People come here with a disproportionate rate of addiction, of homelessness, of being in and out of mental health services or not getting them at all. And this is about addressing the issues that bring people back and destabilize our communities. This is supportive. This is about creating a community. It's about using culturally competent staff, people who come from the same background and the same life experiences as the people they're working with and know the neighborhoods. And it's about reaching the 75% of the jail population that's in detention. Prior initiatives did not work with detainees, and detainees matter enormously. So this is a way of targeting people who really need the help, getting them the help that they need, digging in, and everybody benefiting. And this is one of those places where everybody gains. Taxpayers gain, the communities gain, the families gain, the individuals helped, all gain. This is win-win. I'm impressed in our initial start by how hard the Department of Correction people are working to make this work, by the on-the-ground commissioner's commitment, by the number of referrals we're seeing, because we don't get paid if we don't get to serve people. And normally in an initiative, you don't see the referrals start until after a period of things just not working. And this thing is starting at 90 miles an hour. So the mayor talked about a massive New York City achievement. In the last 10 years, we've brought down crime and we've brought down incarceration, and we're a model for the country. I believe this can be a model for the country as well, and I'm grateful to be part of it.
Joanne, thank you. Let me just, before taking questions, summarize today's announcement for our Spanish-speaking New Yorkers. Tenemos una nueva iniciativa para las cárceles de la ciudad. ayudará a dar nuevas oportunidades y aptitudes a los presos para que puedan regresar a sus vidas con éxito y no tengan que regresar a la cárcel. And with that,